Welcome to Inspired Coach Podcast and today's episode of The Coach's Couch. Let's dive straight in. We have a wonderful question today from Vanessa Novissimo Wright. What a great name. Hey, Vanessa. And this is Vanessa's question. As a new-ish coach, I find myself looking at all the, in big capital letters she has, things I could be doing, from the back-end stuff to social media to launching, etc. But the truth is, it's just me. I also have another job that I love. So, what are some ways to help focus in on what is truly important, the coaching and the helping people, while also slowly growing a business? Thank you for the opportunity to ask this question. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. This is a really great question, a great one. And I have loved diving into some thoughts about it for myself before coming on to speak to this in today's episode. So essentially what you're asking here is the best things to focus on as a new coach. And I've got 5 things that I want to share with you and with everyone listening that I hope are going to be really, really supportive and helpful for you. Okay, so one, and this is probably not going to come as any significant surprise to you or anyone. And in fact, none of these things that I suggest to you may do that. Because sometimes we can overcomplicate things a lot and we have to try and get ourselves back, especially when we're in a building phase, to basics. And so some of these things might sound like basics, but believe me when I tell you, as somebody that has been in this industry now for more than 2 decades and also coached and worked and mentored a lot of new coaches, there are some things in here that I do see people either not get quite right or not pay enough attention to or not think are important, but they truly, truly are. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. So the first one is keep coaching. There it is. Keep coaching. Whatever it is that you need to do to keep focusing on your skills and craft as you are building your business, please make sure that that one is front and center. It does not matter if this is pro bono and unpaid coaching or if it is paid coaching. It truly does not matter. That is not the thing that is important. I know that it's important to get paying clients for your business to grow, but that is a whole different question altogether. The most important thing is that you focus on your skills, and that means keeping coaching in whatever way you possibly can. And within that, to keep your learning growing about coaching and coaching skills and craft too. Now, that does not necessarily mean that you have to engage and pay for expensive courses or expensive coaching. It can mean things like listening to podcasts like this one, free downloads, good internet searches, online magazines, books. Just keep focusing on doing everything that you can to improve your skills. Why? Well, because there is no greater thing in a service-orientated business when it comes to being able to grow your business and it expand than word of mouth. And for that word of mouth referral engine to get going for you or for anybody, you have to be good at what it is that you do. That then means that other people talk about you, you get more testimonials, you have greater levels of social proof and self-confidence, I believe, that goes with that. And with that then comes more clients. So for that to be possible, you got to keep coaching. You have to keep focusing on doing everything that you can to make sure that the skill set of what it is that we're talking about here is front of mind for you. So just keep going with that. I also just want to come back because I've just realized I've forgotten this. I was going to pick this up, Vanessa, about you saying it's only you. And that is the overwhelming majority of coaching businesses. Okay, so please don't feel as though you are alone there in any way, because you're most definitely not. I was working in my coaching business by myself for years and years before I could afford a virtual. And even that, to begin with hiring a virtual assistant, it was only for a few hours a week to start out with. And so, yes, this just being you, most people. And so please know that you're not alone there. And I'm trying to also focus on things here that you and people who are running solo businesses can do as easily as possible without needing the assistance of anybody else. So here's the second thing that I have to share with you to focus on as a new coach. Please try to make plans / get organized in whatever way is best for you to ensure that you are showing up for your business and your business self in whatever way that may work for you consistency wise. Now, consistency is something that means different things to different people, as it should. I'm not necessarily talking about doing something at exactly the same time every day or every week, or that you have to do it X number of times ongoing in a very regular pattern, because that is not, I know that that's the way some people think of consistency and they are able to manage that. But for a lot of people, particularly people who are neurodiverse or people who just don't function in that particular more boxed or very, some would say rigid or very straightly organized way. It's just not the way that some people function. And so please don't get me wrong when I'm talking about consistency. It can mean different things for different people. But what I do know is that you cannot hope to have a successful business if you are only working on it, in it, and with it in a very, very ad hoc way, in a very loose way. You have to find ways to show up for it ongoing. And that will mean working out a schedule that works for you so that can be possible. That's really, really important. So that you at least are doing things like whether it is half an hour a day, you're focused on your business in some way, whether it is a pocket of, 2 to 3 hours a week, and other things. So let me give you a little example of this. When I first started my business as a coach, I was working full time, as many people are, when they start a business like this, full time elsewhere. And of course, I wanted to have a life outside of that work and outside of my own business. But I also knew that if I wanted this to be a success, that I had to devote time to it. So I am someone who, every now and again I was able to, on a lunch break or on a Sunday afternoon when I had a little bit more time, I was able to do extra things in my business, such as email reach outs or scheduling social media, doing various other things I needed to do in my business at the time. However, I also had regular dates and times with myself where I devoted time to my business. And that for me was 2 hours on a Tuesday evening. There was no TV. I would come home from work, I would make myself dinner, and I would completely devote 2 hours to my business. It could have been doing anything for it that was helpful. I also then devoted 3 hours in the very early hours of the morning on a Friday morning, because I'm an early bird, and I was able to do some really amazing work between about 5:30 and 8:30 a.m. before I had to be at work. That really worked for me as well. And also, I often found time, probably every second weekend, on a Saturday morning as well. I'd be pottering around at home, and I would devote Saturday mornings. But regularly, Tuesday evenings and Friday mornings, I was always showing up and doing things in my business every week. And then every second weekend, usually on a Saturday morning as well. I have no doubt that that devoted time over months and years eventually created varying different tipping points in my business. The first one being having the ability to cut back in my work to 4 days a week to start with. That was my first big step. It's like, okay, I can let a day go here because things are now starting to flow. I feel almost certain that without that devoted ongoing time dedicated in my business in those early days, that would not have happened in the time frame that it did, which was about 12 to 14 months, if I remember correctly. We're talking a long time ago here now, many, many, many years ago. So I just know that that consistency of turning up in that way really, really helped me. And so I encourage you, Vanessa, or anyone listening, to think about what can be consistent for you. What might work for you time-wise that you can really, really make sure that you are showing up for your coaching and your business on a regular basis. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is your online presence. So basically, the crux of what I'm saying with this one here, as far as a focus is concerned, is to get your online presence as professional as it can be, with the focus being on things such as, and primarily, a clean and clear and visible you, because that's what this is all about, visibility and you being visible, because you cannot expect people to find you or take you seriously as a coach if you don't have that presence and everything about it working really well. And the primary way that we do this as online business owners is to have an online presence, and the primary way that happens is through a website. And so please make sure, and Vanessa, I have deliberately not looked at your website because I don't want you to misinterpret this or think that this is a critique of your personal online presence in any way. It's not. This is just, it's very general, okay? So we have to make sure that one of our focuses in the very early days of when we're establishing our business is getting a website live where it's easy to read, links are right, there are professional photos there that people can see, and it really, really presents you in a way that clearly shows people you're here. You mean business. You are clean, clear, professional, that it's easy for people to look into and see how they can book you, what your niche and ideal client is, a little bit more about you, etc. Now, this does not mean that you have to have an uber expensive website, or even forget the uber, just even expensive, right? Websites these days that are built from templates that cost as little as a couple of $100s. I've even seen some out there that are pretty amazing for less than $100, are incredible. But here's the thing. Even those templates require good use of clean, clear font, to be well set out, to have copy on it that is appealing, to have clean professional photographs where we can clearly see you, where everything written and connected with links makes sense and it's easy to navigate. And you might think to yourself, well, Julie, of course, that's just silly. Like, how simple what a simple thing to say for someone to focus on. But here's the reason, Vanessa, and everyone listening, that I'm saying it. The truth is that I see a lot of websites out there that are not great. They're not great from coaches. And it's not because they're not super fancy or anything like that. I'm talking about the basics not being there. There's not a good 4 or 5 photographs. Fonts are difficult to read. Colours don't really match or align very well. The set out and layout is hard to navigate through. It's not mobile responsive. It might look okay on a desktop or a laptop, but when you look at it on a mobile, it's not responsive. It's hard to find out where to contact someone. It's not readily easy to be able to get that information. And even sometimes someone's full name is not easy to be able to find. And so I see this all the time. And I also see coaches wanting to get more clients, wanting to grow their business, and that being an issue for them. And so really focusing on getting your website clean, clear, professional, organized. This is important. Now, if you feel that's great for you, Vanessa, you can ignore that one, right? You can ignore that tip. But for everyone else that's listening, super, super important, something for you to focus on. Okay, 2 more points to go. The next one I want to talk about, Vanessa, is relationship building. This is something that I don't think is spoken about enough when it comes to building a coaching business. So what I want to encourage you to do as a focus, if you're not doing so right now, is to either start, or if you are, keep focused on building relationships with people who can have a positive impact on your business, and you can have a positive impact on their business as well. You know, I'll give you a little example of this. Something that I saw recently is someone was not quite understanding why, when they were offering their speaking services to someone at no cost, why it was that wasn't being taken up. And I was just in general conversation with them, and when I asked them about that a little bit more, because they were really taken aback by it, and they were saying, Julie, I just can't understand why they would not want me to come and offer this to them and their group, their community of people for free. And so I asked her a few questions, and I said, how did you go about reaching out to these people? Because from what it is, it sounds to me like you don't actually have an existing relationship with them. Is that correct? And she said, oh no, I don't know them. She said, I've just reached out and offered. And I said, okay, well then here's where the first thing is. Just because you're offering something to someone for free does not then necessarily mean that that is the primary motivator for them to say yes to that offer, right? There are many, many other considerations that go into somebody saying yes before introducing someone to their community of people that they potentially have been curating for many, many years. And the primary one of those things usually is they need to actually get to know you. So you've made a cold reach out. I said, and I know that's different to a cold ask, but there is still an ask in here. Basically, you're saying, I'm asking you to be able to come to your group and speak to them for free. Even though that is you offering a service, it's still an ask, right? You're still asking for something from them, which is access to their community, which of course you would give a lovely talk to, but it's still an ask. And I went on to explain to her that I think probably the primary issue here is that you've not developed a relationship with these people. This is an organisation and a group that are putting on events. Have you been to any of those events before? No, you haven't. And it was an initial reach out. And she went on to explain that she'd offered her service in this way to a number of other people that also she wasn't getting that response from as well. And so this then allowed us to dive into a deeper conversation around the fact, and it's like, you've gone too soon, too fast. You need to develop really good conscious relationships with these people to see what mutual benefit you may be able to create together. And if not that, just to simply have wonderful relationships and contacts with people in this industry. And so I wanted to give that little example there, that sometimes we just forget about the importance of relationship building, or we don't even understand or know about its importance to begin with. So we have to do things like engage with accounts and people we admire on social media or we'd like to be connected to. We have to sign up to their lists. We have to be involved with free or low-cost offerings that they might be putting out there. We have to go to events where we can have conversations with people or place ourselves in groups where we can begin to consciously, deeply, and richly build relationships. And these things can have an extraordinarily positive impact on our businesses. And that takes time and effort and energy and work. But Vanessa, believe me when I tell you, focus that is worth it. I know for myself over many, many years now that the building of these relationships, sometimes just purely because, wow, I really like that person and I would like to get to know them better, has ended up leading to so many wonderful opportunities and things in my business. And I've seen that happen in other businesses as well. And so relationship building, something I'd really, really love to encourage you to focus on. Here's the final thing that I'd love to share with you and everyone that is a great thing to focus on as a new coach. And again, I know that this one is probably not going to come as any significant surprise, but it's about looking for ways to promote your work that works for you, which you're not going to know unless you experiment, play, adventure, and try things out with everything from social media to newsletter writing to pitching yourself to be a guest on podcasts or even starting your own podcast. But sometimes what I see with new coaches is that they can put up a website and then just kind of automatically make an assumption that that's kind of it, or the biggest thing that they need to do to then begin to attract people towards their work. And that's not the case at all. You have to step out into varying different arenas. As mentioned, social media, newsletter marketing, going to events, putting on your own events. And when I say events, it doesn't necessarily have to mean like something big. It can be something small for 5 or 6 people. You know, there have now been a number of guests here on the podcast that have spoken about the fact that they started out offering very small, tiny little events that just then slowly grew from there into helping them have the incredible businesses that they now do. Now, if you're not an in-person sort of person, you can think about other ways, but you have to lean into and do these things with some level of consistency, which is what that point I was talking about earlier before about organization is so key here. Make sure, making sure that you're turning up for your business, because if you don't turn up for it, you can't expect anybody else to. And self-promotion and marketing is a big part of that. I know that for some of us, we would like to just not have to worry about that or do the coaching thing, but that's unrealistic and it's just not the case. And there are ways to do it, to lean into it, to find ways that are fun and adventurous and playful and feel right for you. But if you haven't found that for you yet, keep searching, keep trying, because I know that it can be out there for you. So Vanessa, thank you so much for asking this question. I hope that these 5 areas of focus are helpful for you. Maybe you might find that you're already doing many of them. If so, keep going and keep deepening. If you're not, I hope they give you a spark of encouragement to start. Thank you so much for your question and being here with me on the Coach's Couch today.